I'm so delighted it's here. We have a very outstanding institution here, and I'm certain that we will all enjoy seeing it. I love coming here, so I enjoy seeing it. We have this morning a very accomplished moderator for our first panel, Mindy Lovett. She is testimony to the results of this type of education. She is the Senior Vice President of Texas Instruments and President of the company's Worldwide Education Technology Business, which focuses on market-leading educational technology to improve math and science methodologies. With a diverse professional background, Melinda's TI responsibilities also include the establishment of an initiative of TI women who are working to better math and science education for girls in elementary through high school. And this is something I have always wanted. I love this school, and I appreciate everything that's happening here. It makes me feel good to come. It makes me feel we have a future in this world. But all of our students in DISD do not have access to this school. So it is very delightful to know that we are beginning to spread it out. When Dr. Moses was here, our superintendent, just prior to our current one, I went to him and made a plea that we spill some of the offerings at this school over to all of our schools. And he made that pledge, and then he retired. I didn't tease him about that. When I see him periodically, I ask him, are you working with Dr. Inomosa? He goes, yes. Are you going to achieve the goal that I set? He said, we're going to get there. We got the right man in charge. So I feel good about that. So this is really important. I want to make sure that not only all of us who have come to share gain the information and have to spread it, but I'm calling on you as well. Spread the information to our parents, to our neighbors, to our friends, to our church members, that we must have focus. First, in making sure that our students stay in school. But secondly, that they're choosing the right focus for the future, for their future, for our nation's future. There are so many things that we have not accomplished that us older folk are leaving to the young people to take care of. We have not seen yet where we can go in biomedical technology. We have not yet seen the end of many diseases that we're still struggling with. All of those answers might be somewhere in the minds of our young people right here. And we want to make sure that they have the opportunity to discover that they do have the answers and that they're willing to stay with it. The legislation that we passed this year was based from a research study that was done called the Rising Before, so what is the name of it? Rising Above the Gathering Storm. And what that really means is we need to get there before we get consumed by the rest of the world who has passed us. And it is a great study. For the first time since I've been there, and the National Science Foundation can attest to this, every year I bust a little bit more because we need to focus more on our research, on the preparation of our leaders and our educators, and to make sure that we have resourceful venues for our students to attend school. And this year, we passed a bill that's focusing on graduate studies and undergraduate studies of our young people and for our faculty. Our teachers can only teach what they're capable of teaching and what they have learned, and they're very willing to do that. And we want to be a resource so that they can continue to be resourceful, building partnerships with the work media, making sure that we are walking together. You know, we learned that public schools really can't do this alone. We have to have a community, we have to have the vision of the community, and we must focus on where we feel those needs are for the future. I'm going to end my lecture and present to you Ms. Lovett. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman Johnson, and a very warm welcome to all of you this morning. I am a proud product of the Dallas Independent School District from Bryan Adams High School. So We have at least that in common. Our first panel this morning is focused on the important issue of closing the disparities gap. And as a panel, we decided to focus on STEM education. And when we say STEM, we're talking about science, technology, engineering, and math. And I'm quite honored to have the opportunity this morning to lead this important discussion. The 2007 results from the nation's report card, it's also called the National Assessment of Education Progress, or NAEP. That's a national test that's done, and it's measured at 4th grade, 8th grade, and 12th grade. The 2007 results were just released. And once again, they reveal the achievement gap, or the disparity gap, that exists between African American and Hispanic students and Caucasian students. And this gap exists both in reading and in math. And if you look at the rate of change over the years, in the past 17 years, the gap in 8th grade math scores between African American and Caucasian students has narrowed only 1 point. And for Hispanic students, the gap between Hispanic students and Caucasian students has closed only 2 points. That's at the 8th grade level. In 4th grade, there's been more progress. The gap between African American and Caucasian students closed 6 points, and the gap between Hispanic and Caucasian students narrowed 1 point. For 12th grade, the gap in math actually widened 7 points between African Americans and Caucasians, and closed only 2 points between Hispanics and Caucasians, and that's from 1990 through the current time. So last week at the Congressional Black Caucus Brain Trust, Rod Page, former Secretary of Education, brought to our attention that at this rate of change, it's going to be 2080 before that gap is closed. And I'm sure that all of us in the room share the goal of accelerating that change and of doing things differently to get these disparities addressed and to get them addressed sooner. The landmark No Child Left Behind legislation was really heralded by the business community and civil rights groups alike. And that legislation has its share of critics, but one point that we all agreed on is the requirement that the data about student performance be disaggregated or broken down between major ethnic groups, economic background, English learner, and disability. And it's that scorecard, it's that report card that helps us really understand how students are doing, which students need more help, and finding the right steps to ensure that all students are getting to reading and math proficiency by 2014. So improving student achievement, student performance, improving the pipeline of students, as the Congresswoman mentioned, who are proficient, above proficient, and high performing in math and science has been a rallying cry in the business community. Congress has joined that rallying cry, and there's widespread recognition that these subjects are critical to our nation's competitiveness. And of course at TI, this is a very real issue for us as a company because we need strong math and science skills to innovate the next high-end chips. But not only do we need math and science skills and technology skills for our engineers, but we also need those skills for manufacturing technicians and manufacturing operators in our wafer fabs. Specifically, one of the arenas that TI Society